So welcome to Win-Win Women's TV and to the inaugural episode of Living a Graceful Life. I'm Denise Medved, and I'm your host. I'm also the creator and founder of the Ageless Grace Brain Health Program worldwide. I'm here to remind you every episode that it's never too late to begin making choices to create the life that you want to live. So the first thing I guess we need to ask ourselves is, what is a graceful life? What would it consist of? What would my idea of a graceful life look like? What are the things that would bring grace and comfort and ease and passion and a new lease on life? What are those things, and how would I invite them into my life? So the whole point of this episode is for us to talk about all the things that we can do to make choices that invite in what we would like to have in our life. Or maybe there are also choices to get rid of things that we don't want in our life any longer. But the most important thing to remember is it's never too late to begin. It doesn't matter if you're a teenager or in your 20s or 30s, if you're over 50, or if you're almost 70 like I am. You can make choices and changes in your life that cause the quality of your life to improve dramatically day by day, regardless of your situation, your living conditions, your career, your boss, your children, whatever it might be in your life that makes you think that you can't choose for it to be more graceful is not true. There are things that you can completely control, that you can be in charge of, regardless of all of those other things in your life. So the first thing might be for us to ask, what does the word grace or graceful even mean? Because it has several meanings. Much like the human body is not just a body, it's also a brain and a mind, it's emotions, it's spirit, it's sensations. Well, grace has several definitions also. Let's go back to the root of the word, which is from the Latin gratia or gratus. And basically it means pleasure. So one of the things you can ask yourself is, if I look at my life, if I were to step out of the picture frame and look at my life, what in that life is giving me pleasure? Would I say it's a pleasurable life? And if not, what are the things in my life that are not giving me pleasure? And do I have the power to change them? So that's the beginnings of the word grace, but Webster and Wikipedia have a couple other definitions, because grace is not only a physical definition, it's also a spiritual definition that affects the mind and the emotions as well. So grace, by definition, is elegant movement, like a graceful ballerina or a graceful swan. But the reality is, all of us may not be able to hope for moving like a ballerina or a graceful swan, but we can have elegant movement in our lives. Poise, balance, all of those things are a form of physical grace. And we can all choose to have more balance in our lives. We can all choose to be more poised in situations that may not always give us the most pleasure. Another definition of grace is more of a spiritual definition. Many of you have heard the phrase, the grace of God, or grace of all that is divine. The love of God is often called mercy, or blessing, or grace. So the definition of the act of giving grace to someone is that it's spontaneous, that it has no strings attached, that it is free, You don't have to deserve it. You don't have to do anything to get it. It's a gift that is life-changing, and you recognize at the moment that it appears in your life when grace is bestowed upon you. So one thing that people don't always think about when we think of grace is that we can bestow it on ourselves. So how would we go about doing that? We don't just imagine it, although that's helpful. We don't just write it down on a piece of paper, although that's helpful. We need to look at all the ways we can call in grace to our lives. And the first way is through the body. Physical movement, physical comfort, physical ease. How do we get that? Some of us may feel like we have it. Some of us may feel like we're far from having comfort and ease and grace in our physical bodies. I remind you that part of the physical body is the brain. It is an organ. And the brain is in charge of everything else that the body does. The very fact that I moved my hands to express myself, the very fact that I'm sitting barefoot in front of you, I'll explain that later. Those things are determined by the directions that my brain gives my body and by the information that the body gives to the brain. My hands might give some information to my brain. Certainly my feet, and hence the bare feet, have 7,000 nerve endings in each foot. The hands have 7,000 nerve endings in each hand, and they're communicating with the brain all the time, saying, oh, it might be slippery to walk here. It might be dark and I can't see where I'm supposed to go. It might be slick, or it might be rough, or it might be smooth and clear. It might have an obstacle, or it might not. All of those sensations go through that nervous system, and the brain and the central nervous system are what allows us to do something called neuroplasticity, which is the ability of the brain and the central nervous system to change its form and function. And since the brain's primary purpose is to control movement of the body, then that means that movement affects the brain. Now, I'm not talking about dramatic exercise, like let's go to the gym and work out and sweat, put on a headband and get on the machines, although that's wonderful for the body and the brain. I'm talking about simple movements that can stimulate the brain to change itself, to be more alert, more focused, that can cause it to be quicker in sending messages to the body, and can also cause the body to be quicker in responding to what the brain wants to do. Especially those of us who might be older and have lived longer than others, and that's a blessing, that's a gift, that is a grace, by the way. Especially in us, we may see some differences in our body. And I'm here to say that if you pay attention, if you're conscious, if you're aware of what's going on with your body and brain, then you can make changes and differences that can bring that fast reaction time, that can bring that response time, that can bring that recovery time back to a place where you are feeling comfortable and at ease in your own skin, literally and figuratively. So the body is one part of grace, but it's also the brain is part of grace. How we can give the brain what it needs. There's the mind, and don't confuse the mind and the brain. They're two separate things. The brain is an organ. The mind is a consciousness or awareness. And we can also feed the mind with conscious intention and attention to what it is we want to create, what we want to manifest, how we want to feel, how we want to be in the world, what kind of human being do we want to be. All of those things can be influenced by changing your mind, literally. And then we come to emotions. Believe it or not, the brain is in charge of your emotions. Hard to believe, isn't it? But the brain produces hormones, all the yummy ones and good ones, and some that are not so great, like maybe cortisol, the stress hormone. And then there's also the emotions that are dictated and managed by the brain. Sometimes we almost have a split where we can look out and say, wow, I can't believe how I'm reacting to this. Wow, I'm surprised I'm getting so angry. Or, gee, I'm so excited, I'm so happy, I'm so emotional. We can actually change the brain and change our emotions, or manage our emotions, or appreciate our emotions. They're very real. They're very important to being who we are. The last part of this thing that we call being a human being is the spirit. And there's sort of two aspects to that. The spirit is a little bit indefinable. It is who you are. I was once told that it was the thumbprint of Denise. That's my spirit. And you want to nourish that spirit and feed it. It's like anything else that's living, because your spirit is living. It needs nourishment. It needs attention. It needs love in order to thrive. We use the term loosely sometimes. We say, that really lifted my spirits. But that's correct. Certain things that make us happy, that make us feel alive, are in fact lifting our spirits. One of those things is programming the brain, or sending messages to the brain through the body so that it can cause itself to be uplifted. It can allow itself to be happy. It can allow itself to play and have fun, even in situations where there is stress going on. And there will always be stress, by the way. No change in your brain, no graceful life can get rid of all the stress, but it can manage it, and it can cause you to tweak it or change it in such a way that it doesn't feel nearly as stressful. You might even see a silver lining or a light at the end of the tunnel, or a humorous aspect to the stress that you're going through. Remember that there are two kinds of stress: the stress that is negative and hurts our bodies and our brains, and the stress that is positive. And guess what? Positive stress also affects the body and the brain. So we have the body, which includes the brain. We also have the mind, which is part of this human being. We have the emotions, and we have the spirit. So this first episode of Living a Graceful Life is talking about ways that we can approach that, and we can incorporate it and invite it into our life, not just in one way, by changing one thing, like, oh, if I just changed my job, my life would be more graceful. Well, maybe it would, but that's not the only way that you can invite more grace into your life. It needs to affect, or it can be changed through all of those parts of being a human being. So in future episodes, we're going to be talking about different kinds of things that can affect our gracefulness in life, our health and well-being, our food choices, which is part of our health and well-being, our sleep patterns and choices, and how to prepare for that, the amount of water that we drink, oxygen intake, breathing, sounding, singing, humming, whistling. All of those things are part of health and wellness. Our attitude has everything to do with our sensation of gracefulness in our life. An attitude can be changed. Believe it or not, it can be changed something like a light bulb. It's a choice that we make, just like all of these are choices that we make. It's a comforting thought to me to know that I am actually in control of a few things. In this world today, it's so chaotic, and there's so many things that are out of our control. There are so many things that we cannot change no matter what. but I can change my physical health and well-being, my sleep habits, what I eat, my movement choices, all of that. I have some power to decide how it will be and what it will look like every day. Other things that affect our life of gracefulness is our physical surroundings. Some of us feel like we don't have control over our physical surroundings, either in our home, in our living situation, or in our work situation. But guess what? You have a huge amount of control, even if it's something as simple as setting a vase with a single flower on it on your desk, or changing the lighting, or adding some simple thing, the view out your window, that can change the way your surroundings feel to you on not only a physical level, but an emotional, a mental, a spiritual level as well. Another thing that we can do is invite in more nature. Nature's all around us. And in most places, at least part of it is free. We can take a walk somewhere. We can look at a tree. We can see an animal of some kind. Maybe it's our own pets, our own animals, our furry friends that live with us. But there is beauty all around us. All we have to do is make a conscious decision to notice it and to put ourselves in a situation to appreciate it or be affected by it. It has everything to do with living a graceful life. One of the things that we can also do is our social interaction. Is our social interaction only in our work or our career? Is it only with our immediate family? Or have we created a circle? And by the way, a circle can be a circle of two. It doesn't have to be a big circle. Have we created a circle of friends for support, for fun, for laughter, for play? All of that has to do with living a life that's graceful. How about play? How about play? Play is a little bit like taking a risk. The way we developed our bodies and our brains in the first place, as babies, as toddlers, as children, was we played. We took risks all the time. We didn't say, gee, to stand up and walk is a very scary thing. I don't know if I want to do that. We tried it and we experimented with it, and we weren't great at it at first, but we got better with practice. And we threw a ball, and we hopped on one foot, and we skipped rope, and we made friends, and we ran around the yard, and we laughed, and we played. All of these things were developing our body and our brain, and they were actually developing our emotions and our spirit and our mind. All those things are being shaped by what I call risk taking, not being afraid that someone's going to laugh at you, not being afraid that you won't do it really well the first time or the second time or the third time, but that in fact, you are willing to say, let me try that. Let me see how it feels. And if you give it a fair chance and practice for a while, you're going to discover, is that part of me? Is that something I love or I'm passionate about or enjoy, or it gives me pleasure? Or is that something that's really not for me? It doesn't give me joy, it gives me stress. Well, at first, any kind of risk taking is a tiny bit stressful because you're stepping out and trying something new and different for yourself. And trying something new or different for yourself is a huge part of living a graceful life. It's a huge part of what changes your body, and it's a very big part of what changes your brain, which is in charge of everything that we do, because we are physical beings. I like to think that we're physical beings having a spiritual, that we're spiritual, having a physical experience. And that means that we act, interact, and make choices through our physical body. So what are some other things we can do? How about our rest, our sleep? Do we allow enough time for that? Do we prepare for it? We prepare a meal. We prepare for work. We prepare our clothing that we're going to put on every day. Do we prepare to sleep? How about your spirituality and nurturing your spiritual self? Do you have a time of quietude? Do you have a time of reading something inspirational? Maybe it's a time of meditation, prayer. All of that can add to a graceful life. It's a choice that we make, right? How about music? Music is a universal language, absolutely. It's something that everybody responds to in one way or another. Music can change a mood. Music can change the dynamics in a room. Music can change an attitude. Music, how much music do you have in your life? You don't have to be a musician, but if you are, do you have that music in your life? You don't have to be a singer, but if you are you singing? You don't have to be a dancer, but if you are you dancing to the music of life? So bringing music into your life is another way of adding grace. So in coming episodes, we're going to talk in detail about this. Since this is our inaugural episode, we're giving you an overview about what we're going to talk about and what we might even talk about in the question and answer session after this episode is finished. One of the things we're going to have is many guests, women who are authors of books, women who are directors and designers, women who are medical professionals, women who are artists, women who are single or married, women who are mothers or childless, women who are organizers, women who are educators. We're going to talk about all these different types of ways of being in the world and sharing your gifts, and what each of those types of people in each of those types of venues in life adds more grace to their life or more meaning to their life. And so I thank you for being on this episode with me. But before I end, I want to show you just a little bit of a simple movement, because that's how we started today. That elegant movement is part of grace, or one of the definitions. I want to show you just a little bit to music so that you can practice it between now and the next episode next week. And it's very simple. It's very easy. You don't need to change clothes. You don't need to get any equipment. You need to sit right there in your chair and join in with me. This is called Spelling Bee, and we're going to spell win, W-I-N, win, TV, win. So here we go with a little bit of Spelling Bee, and get ready to laugh a little. I forgot to say how much laughter adds to gracefulness in your life. So the first letter we're going to spell in printed block letters, W, and we're going to spell it 3 times. W, W, W. And then with one leg, you're going to spell I. You're going to draw an I in the air 3 times, and do it 3 times with this leg. And then with your belly button or navel, write in, the letter in 3 times. Now we have to do all this again. So write W this time with both elbows. W 3 times. Make the I with your nose. A big I with your nose. With your knee, make an N 3 times. And then make an N with the other knee 3 times. That's win-win. Now let's make a big T, big capital letter T, all the way down. Again, big capital letter T, all the way down. And I don't know about you, but I'm smiling. And then we're going to make a V. All right, here we go. Big V with the hands and a big V with the legs. Oh boy. Big V. Win-win TV. Now in lowercase cursive, write it with your chin. W-I-N, dot your I. Spell it again. W-I-N. And don't forget to dot your I. And then spell TV. And don't forget to cross your T. Now, I really want to see the smiles because I want you to spell win-win TV with your belly button. In cursive, W-I-N, dot that I. W-I-N, dot that I. W-I-N, dot that I. And then write TV. and cross your T. Good. Now with your back, right, in cursive, win, TV. Don't forget to dot I's and cross T's. Now with your tongue on the roof of your mouth, write win, TV. Don't be afraid to make faces. I'm not. Now with your top of your head on the ceiling, write win, TV. And dot your I's and cross your T's. Now we're going to switch words. We're going to write in upper and lowercase the word grace with your hands. G-R-A-C-E in cursive. No I's, no T's. Write it again. Grace. G-R-A-C-E. And again, G-R-A-C-E. With one foot, right? G-R-A-C-E. Again, G-R-A-C. Are you smiling? Write grace with the other foot. G-R-A-C-E. G-R-A-C-E. And then write grace with your nose. G-R-A-C-E. One more time. G-R-A-C-E. And let's do it with the belly button. G-R-A-C-E. Wonderful job. So that should have made you smile, I hope. It should have made you wiggle around a little bit. It might have even made you feel a little more wide awake. It might have even caused you to feel a little more full of energy and life. Something you can practice, spelling bee, spell any word in any language. It can be a symbolic language like Japanese or Hebrew or Arabic. It can be any word, any language, any word, upper lowercase, lowercase cursive, block letter print, doesn't matter. It's a lot of fun. Share it with someone, maybe a child or a kid, or another adult who's a big child or a kid. So thank you for joining me today. And I want to remind you that it's never too late to begin making choices to create the life that you want to live. What if we all made a choice right now to do one small act of kindness to another person, maybe a friend, a family member, maybe a complete stranger? I think what would happen is that together we would change the world. Thank you.